Welcome to another character profile, and today I'm going to discuss everyone's favorite elf-like creatures, just 3 apples high. Created by Belgian comic book artist Peyo, the Smurfs have managed to succeed through multiple media, and for good reason. However, to really get a sense of their longevity, one needs to go back to their origins. The idea for the Smurfs and their unique vocabulary came when Peyo was having lunch with a friend near the Flemish-speaking side of Belgium. Wanting the salt, he asked to pass the strumpf, and they spent the rest of the time joking around with the word. The Smurfs first appeared in the Johan and Puet storyline, The Flute with 6 Holes, aiding the characters on their journey. The Smurfs were immediately established as being males living in a village, led by the bearded and wise Papa Smurf, and working together with their own unique skills. When they spun off into their own series, the characters were expanded upon. Each Smurf has a distinct personality, as shown by their names, and it would take forever to name them all. Ultimately, they are all united by their leader, Papa Smurf, and they work in a society where almost everybody is on equal footing and contributes something, even the likes of Clumsy Smurf and Lazy Smurf. The language is peppered with the word Smurf that is spliced into the appropriate places. Sometimes the word Smurf even appears more than once in the same sentence. Something that most people won't know is that the Smurfs are actually quite mischievous in the original comics. Not just jokey Smurf, the other Smurfs have a tendency of playing tricks on the other and fooling around, which adds a bit of dimension to them. Things have even gotten very serious in Smurf Village. I've already discussed this story in a previous video, but it's worth pointing out that the comic, The Purple Smurfs, predates George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, with its depiction of Smurfs being infected and biting each other, and almost leading to a Smurf apocalypse. An outright war even breaks out in Smurf vs. Smurf, for the completely ridiculous reason that they disagree on where Smurf should be placed in a sentence. And in one of the more famous Smurf stories, a female Smurf, created by the enemy Gargamel, arrives in the village and causes a rift between the male Smurfs who fight for her attention. The popularity of the Smurfs led to them finding themselves in other mediums. There was a black and white Smurfs movie released in Belgium in the 60s, but most of it seems to be lost and hard to track down. In 1976, The Smurfs and the Magic Flute was released, although despite the title, many may be surprised that the Smurfs are only supporting characters in the film, and most of the attention is on Johan and Puet, who I don't find as interesting. There are some funny moments here and there, but the animation is not that impressive and the story is kind of boring. However, the success of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon led to this movie selling a decent amount of tickets upon its American release. That cartoon, while watering down the Smurfs, still holds a certain nostalgic charm. The Smurfs are likable characters, and it did a decent job of adapting the stories, and Smurfette is actually given a bigger role in the series. However, I find Gargamel to be the main star of the show, as its interactions with Azrael and the Smurfs are very funny, and Paul Winchell does a superb job with the voice. The 1980s was a dark period for Hanna-Barbera, and the Smurfs, with its rip from the comic book storylines and solid sense of humor, was a breath of fresh air. Is this among the greatest animated television series? No, but it is a great way to introduce younger audiences to the Smurfs, and it remarkably holds up. And of course, who can forget that incredibly catchy theme song that I promise will not leave your heads for days after you finish watching this video. Many years later, the Smurfs returned to the big screen with a live-action CG animated hybrid, and you know what? I actually like it. Yes, really. I thought the Smurfs kept their personalities, and the script did a good job of tapping into their names and how it's more so the element that makes them great rather than being a detriment. That also ties into Clumsy story arc quite nicely. Gargamel, not surprisingly, steals the show, with Hank Azaria looking like he's having a lot of fun in the part. Even the comedy does not go too heavy into the gross-out humor as one might expect, and the little references actually work. The voices chosen for the Smurfs while being celebrities are all perfectly chosen. Even the likes of George Lopez as Grouchy and Katy Perry as Smurfette fit their characters. I also thought they were translated well from drawings into computer animated creations. Now, admittedly, the main human characters the Smurfs meet are not that interesting, and the product placement is insane, and suspiciously are mainly Sony products. One scene where they play Guitar Hero is especially obnoxious and a waste of time. Otherwise, I thought the Smurfs movie did a decent job of transferring these characters to the big screen. The sequel, on the other hand, was too bogged down with subplots. Instead of focusing mainly on Smurfette's dilemma of not being a natural-born Smurf, and the rest of the Smurfs trying to rescue her, we have to deal with Gargamel being a world-famous wizard, Neil Patrick Harris's father issues, and Grouchy deciding to change his personality, and that impacts Smurfette's character development. Gargamel actually got on my nerves in this one, and while I let them get away with putting them in the real world in the first one, the decision to set the sequel in Paris was really pushing it. I did not hate the Smurfs 2, as I got some mild enjoyment out of it, but it was definitely lacking in my opinion. What hasn't been lacking are the Smurfs animated television specials Sony made. Done with some impressive and even beautiful hand-drawn animation, Smurfs Christmas Carol and The Legend of Smurfy Hollow are actually the closest I've seen the Smurfs be their original selves. The stories are a lot of fun, and they even seem like comics that Peyo would have written. If you're a Smurfs fan, I think you're going to really enjoy these specials. In fact, Sony Pictures recently announced they're completely rebooting the Smurfs movies to be fully animated. The new director, Kelly Asbury, plans on having them look and feel exactly like Peyo's original comics, and those specials might be a good indication of where they might go with this new Smurfs movie. Even as somebody who didn't hate the hybrid films, I'm really glad to see Sony Animation going this route, and it's further proof how much they've evolved into an artist-driven studio. This new movie is set for release in 2016, and as a Smurfs fan, I'm very excited to see it reach the big screen, and maybe it'll give people a new appreciation for the Smurfs. Overall, the Smurfs are very important pop culture figures who are unlikely to go away anytime soon. And with that, I'll Smurf you next time. I'm Smurfing it again, aren't I?